What if the story we tell ourselves about human civilization, the grand narrative woven through our history books, is but a surface ripple, a fleeting moment on an ocean of forgotten ages, far deeper and more complex than we can easily imagine? We are taught a conventional timeline, a neat, linear progression. From simple hunter-gatherers, humanity embarked on a swift, almost miraculous ascent. Over a mere few millennia, we rose from scattered encampments to intricate, interconnected societies, from the first crude tools to towering cities, from a whisper of language to the vast libraries of written knowledge. It is a compelling tale of progress, a steady climb from rudimentary beginnings to our present peak. But does this narrative truly capture the immensity of our past? Consider the accepted arc of human history. For hundreds of thousands of years, anatomically modern humans walked this planet. Our bodies, our brains, our capacity for thought and creation were largely as they are today. Yet, if we are to believe the standard account, for the vast majority of that time, our ancestors lived in unchanging patterns. Their lives etched in simple stone tools, their presence leaving little more than faint whispers in the archaeological record. Then suddenly, almost overnight in geological terms, something shifted. Agriculture appeared. Cities rose, writing emerged, art flourished. It is as if a switch was flipped, transforming a quiet, primitive existence into a dynamic, rapidly evolving civilization. This perceived beginning of civilization, a mere 6,000 or 7,000 years ago, stands in stark, unsettling contrast to humanity's deep, ancient presence on Earth. What was happening during those countless millennia that preceded it? Where are the stories, the monuments, the enduring traces of a species inherently driven to create, to organize, to explore? The vast stretches of time before this documented ascent remain strangely quiet, a profound, almost deafening silence that invites questions rather than answers. It is a silence that feels less like an empty void and more like a carefully guarded secret, a veil drawn across chapters we have yet to read. Mainstream history often attributes this silence to absence. We are told that because we find no evidence of advanced societies, none existed. But what if absence is not proof? What if the perceived emptiness of deep time is, in truth, the lingering shadow of something lost, something erased? The planet is a restless, dynamic entity, constantly reshaping its surface. Mountains rise and fall. Rivers carve new paths. Coastlines advance and recede. Over thousands, tens of thousands of years, even the most enduring human creations can be swallowed by the earth, buried by sediment, crushed by glaciers, or drowned beneath rising seas. Is it possible that the silence we interpret as a lack of activity is, in fact, the profound aftermath of immense destructive forces? This documentary will embark on a journey to explore a radical possibility that the human story is far older, richer, and profoundly more cyclical than our history books currently record. We will not look for mere conjecture, but for scientific discoveries that hint at prior advanced civilizations, cultures that may have risen, flourished, and then, without a trace for our eyes, were erased by time, by cataclysm, or by the relentless forces of a living planet. These are not fantastical tales, but rather interpretations of anomalies and patterns that do not fit comfortably within our accepted timeline, pieces of a puzzle that demand a new framework for understanding. We begin by examining the striking disparity, the profound chasm between humanity's ancient biological presence and the sudden, recent appearance of what we definitively define as civilization. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, have existed for at least 200,000 to 300,000 years. This is not a matter of speculation. The fossil record is clear. Our ancestors, with bodies and brains functionally identical to our own, navigated the prehistoric world for epochs. Yet, if we rely solely on the archaeological record as it is conventionally interpreted, for the vast majority of this immense span, they lived in a way that left surprisingly little lasting impact. At least in terms of complex societal structures, monumental architecture, or sophisticated technology. Why did our species, gifted with curiosity, innovation, and an innate drive to build, seemingly wait so long to manifest the very hallmarks of what we call civilization? The sudden proliferation of complex behaviors, advanced art, intricate tools, widespread trade networks, and eventually permanent settlements and agriculture appears around 40,000 to 10,000 years ago, a mere blink in our species' much longer journey. Is this perceived beginning truly the genesis of all human complexity? Or is it something else entirely? Is it, in truth, a reawakening, a resurgence of knowledge and societal organization following a period of profound disruption and loss? Imagine for a moment that this is not our first ascent. Imagine that before our documented history, other chapters unfolded, other civilizations rose to heights we can barely comprehend, only to be swept away, their knowledge scattered, their achievements buried. In this context, the sudden appearance of agriculture in multiple independent locations, the rapid emergence of cities, the abrupt flowering of art and symbolic thought, these events cease to be inexplicable leaps and instead become echoes, recoveries, the re-establishment of patterns once forgotten. They transform from singular origins into recurrent themes in a grander, cyclical narrative. This re-evaluation of our past asks us to look beyond the immediate and the obvious. It asks us to question the very foundations of what we believe to be true about our origins and our trajectory. For too long, the vast stretches of prehistory have been treated as a blank slate, an empty canvas awaiting the brushstrokes of our relatively recent achievements. But what if that canvas is not empty at all, but covered in layer upon layer of previous artistry, each generation's masterpiece obscured by the dust and debris of global shifts? What if the silence is not a vacuum, but the profound quiet that follows a great wave, a moment of repose before the next cycle begins? The clues are not always direct or immediately obvious. They are subtle disjunctions, faint whispers, patterns that only reveal themselves when viewed through a different lens. They are the anomalies that traditional explanations struggle to accommodate, the coincidences that become too numerous to dismiss. Our conventional understanding, built upon centuries of archaeological discovery and meticulous dating, offers a coherent, albeit short, story. But coherence does not always equate to completeness. What if the pieces we have assembled only form a fraction of the full picture, with the majority of the mosaic still hidden from view? We are not merely contemplating an older history. We are considering a history that inherently defies linearity. A history where progress is not a constant, unwavering climb, but a series of peaks and valleys, a rhythm of construction and deconstruction, of remembering and forgetting. This perspective challenges the comforting notion that we are at the apex of all human experience, the ultimate expression of our species' potential. Instead, it suggests a humbling yet awe-inspiring possibility that we are but one iteration in a grand, repeating drama. This act will lay the groundwork for that radical possibility, inviting us to peer into the unsettling silence of our deep past and to question the simplicity of our accepted beginnings. It is an invitation to consider that the story we know is not the whole story, that the human journey is not a straight line but a spiral, weaving through time, carrying echoes of what came before. The perceived beginning of civilization may, in fact, be a profound reawakening, a testament to humanity's enduring resilience and its capacity to rise anew from the hidden bones of forgotten ages. The scientific discoveries we will explore in the coming acts do not merely challenge our timeline, they compel us to rethink the very nature of our existence, prompting us to wonder, are we truly the first? From the surface, our blue planet presents an image of enduring stability, of continents fixed and oceans forever holding their boundaries. But beneath these vast, restless waters, a different story begins to whisper, a story of forgotten ages and civilizations lost to the relentless advance of the tides. Imagine if entire epochs of human endeavor now lie hidden beneath the ocean's surface, their vibrant stories silenced, their structures absorbed by the immense pressure and the slow grinding work of the sea. It is a profound, almost unsettling thought that the very cradle of early human progress, our thriving coastal settlements, could now be entombed in the deep, awaiting rediscovery. The conventional timeline of human history, with its clear progression from rudimentary tools to complex urban centers, struggles immensely to account for the intricate structures now being discovered submerged off various coastlines. These are not simple rock formations, but remnants that, in their scale and design, seem to defy our understanding of ancient capabilities. They challenge the neat, linear narrative we have constructed for ourselves, presenting instead a world where human ingenuity may have blossomed and faded far more often than we currently acknowledge. The ocean floor, once an impenetrable mystery, is slowly yielding its secrets, revealing enigmatic architectural forms that force us to reconsider the timeline of civilization itself. Among the most compelling of these underwater enigmas is Yonaguni, off the southern coast of Japan. Here, beneath the clear waters, lies a massive, multi-layered stone formation often referred to as the Yonaguni Monument. Its immense blocks and sharp, geometric angles create a striking impression of a colossal, stepped pyramid or a series of terraces. While some geologists argue for a purely natural origin, shaped by centuries of seismic activity and erosion, the sheer regularity of its features, its perfectly straight edges, 90-degree angles, and intricate steps that climb towards an imagined sky, deeply challenge this conventional explanation. Were these features enhanced by human hands or entirely carved from the living rock? If the latter is true, then we are looking at a structure that would require sophisticated tools and organized labor, pushing the timeline of monumental architecture back by thousands of years, to a period when official history suggests only simple hunter-gatherers existed. The implications are staggering. A lost civilization, with advanced engineering and social organization, once stood here, now silently observed by schools of fish. Further west, beneath the churning waters of the Arabian Sea, lies another incredible testament to a forgotten past, the ancient city of Dwarka. Unlike Yonaguni, Dwarka is not a speculative enigma. Its existence is chronicled in the sacred texts of India, specifically the Mahabharata, as a magnificent city built by the divine architect Vishwakarma for Lord Krishna. The texts describe a thriving metropolis with grand palaces and streets that gleamed, a city eventually swallowed by the sea after Krishna's departure. For centuries, this was considered mere myth, a beautiful legend. Yet, in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, marine archaeologists began to uncover astonishing evidence. Sonar scans revealed geometric patterns indicative of urban planning. Divers explored structures now lying 80 to 130 feet beneath the waves, recovering artifacts such as pottery shards, carved stone anchors, and remnants of what appear to be elaborate fortifications. The carbon dating of some recovered artifacts places these ruins at an age of perhaps 9,000 years, or even older. This pushes the known history of Indian civilization, with its urban planning and sophisticated maritime capabilities, back by thousands of years beyond accepted archaeological timelines. Dwarka is not just a myth brought to life. It is a profound scientific discovery, a powerful validation of ancient accounts, suggesting a past far grander and technologically more advanced than previously presumed. These are not isolated instances. From the submerged coastal settlements off the Mediterranean, like the beautifully preserved Neolithic village of Pavlopetri in Greece, to the scattered reports of underwater structures across the Atlantic and Pacific, a pattern emerges. These sites, now resting silently on the seabed, reveal a dramatic reshaping of the planet, particularly at the close of the last ice age. Approximately 12,000 to 10,000 years ago, as the vast continental ice sheets began their rapid melt, global sea levels rose catastrophically by as much as 120 meters or nearly 400 feet. Entire land masses that were once above water became submerged. Fertile coastal plains, prime locations for early human settlement due to abundant resources, were inundated. What were once bustling ports, thriving communities, and perhaps even sophisticated cities, vanished beneath the rising waters with startling speed, sometimes in a matter of centuries, sometimes even more rapidly. The Earth's geological history records this immense transformation, a violent and unrelenting shift that would have fundamentally altered the course of any civilization residing along those ancient shorelines. The magnitude of this ancient catastrophe is difficult to fully grasp. Imagine the loss, not just structures, but entire populations displaced, their cultures fractured, their knowledge systems disrupted, their very memories slowly fading as generations passed. The survivors, scattered inland, would have carried only fragmented tales of the lost world, stories that would eventually morph into the deluge myths so prevalent across disparate cultures. These underwater ruins, therefore, are not merely archaeological curiosities offering isolated glimpses into minor ancient settlements. They are tangible fragments of forgotten worlds, powerful testaments to the Earth's dynamic past and its capacity for immense, sudden change. They challenge the notion of a single, unbroken line of human progress, suggesting instead a cyclical pattern of rise and fall, of beginnings and endings that our current historical framework largely ignores. Each submerged wall, each carved stone, each ancient artifact recovered from the depths acts as a silent witness. They compel us to reconsider the empty millennia preceding recorded history. If advanced societies capable of monumental construction and complex social organization existed on coastlines now underwater, then the perceived sudden emergence of civilization on dry land might not be a beginning at all, but a reawakening. It suggests a profound continuity beneath the apparent discontinuities, a deeper history awaiting its full articulation. The drowned echoes from the seabed are more than just stones and sediment. They are the undeniable whispers of prior civilizations, calling into question everything we thought we knew about our past, reminding us that the story of humanity is far older and far more cyclical than the official narrative allows. They are concrete evidence that we are, in all probability, not the first. The ocean's depths hold their silent stories, remnants of worlds swallowed by the tides, hinting at a past far grander than our records acknowledge. But the evidence of forgotten ages is not confined to the submerged ruins of ancient coastlines. Sometimes it breaks through the surface, appearing in plain sight in layers of time where it simply should not exist. What if objects crafted with astonishing precision and bearing advanced knowledge emerge from the earth, defying every assumption we hold about their documented era? These are the out-of-place artifacts, the baffling relics that challenge the comfortable linearity of human history. They whisper of a technological sophistication that feels impossible for their assigned periods, forcing us to question the very timeline of human ingenuity. Among these profound enigmas, one artifact stands as a stark testament to such impossible knowledge: the Antikythera mechanism. Discovered in a Roman-era shipwreck off the coast of Greece more than a century ago, this corroded lump of bronze initially seemed unremarkable, but as archaeologists meticulously cleaned and studied it, a revelation unfolded. Beneath the encrusted surface lay a complex arrangement of gears, dials and pointers, an intricate clockwork device of unparalleled sophistication. The Antikythera mechanism was not merely a decorative piece. It was a highly advanced astronomical calculator, capable of predicting solar and lunar eclipses, tracking the movements of planets, and even calculating the dates of ancient Olympic Games. It was, in essence, the world's first known analog computer, a marvel of engineering that would not be replicated for another 1,500 years. Mainstream history struggles to place such a device in its context. How could the ancient Greeks, with their comparatively simple tools and understanding of mechanics, create something so advanced, so mathematically precise? It exists as a solitary peak of technological achievement, with no clear predecessors or immediate successors in the archaeological record. It is as though a fragment of a much more advanced civilization, a world of forgotten engineering, somehow survived a catastrophe and found its way into a later age, only to be dismissed as an anomaly. The mechanism stands as a silent question, a whisper from a past that knew more than we dare to imagine. Yet the Antikythera mechanism is not alone in its perplexing existence. Across the world, other monuments and structures echo this theme of impossible knowledge, suggesting a shared, global sophistication that predates our accepted understanding. Consider Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey, a site that has fundamentally rewritten the narrative of early human civilization, dating back at least 12,000 years. To a time when humans were supposedly simple hunter-gatherers, this vast ceremonial complex consists of massive carved stone pillars, some weighing many tons, arranged in intricate circular enclosures. These pillars are adorned with detailed reliefs of animals and abstract symbols, showcasing an artistic and organizational prowess previously thought impossible for the era. According to conventional archaeology, large-scale communal construction, alongside precise astronomical alignments, only became possible after the development of agriculture and settled communities. Yet, Göbekli Tepe was built thousands of years before the advent of farming, before permanent villages, before metal tools, and before writing. Its construction would have required a highly organized society, advanced planning, and a deep understanding of engineering and celestial observation. The precise astronomical alignments encoded within its design, marking solstices and equinoxes, indicate a sophisticated grasp of the cosmos. These so-called hunter-gatherers were, in fact, master architects and astronomers. How did such knowledge arise so suddenly in a period defined by basic subsistence? The existence of Göbekli Tepe fundamentally challenges the linear progression of human development, suggesting that complex culture, scientific understanding, and advanced organization were not the sole domain of later civilizations. It offers a powerful counter-narrative, where a sophisticated understanding of the world may have flourished much earlier, only to be lost, leaving behind these enigmatic monuments. Further complicating our historical picture are ancient maps, relics of cartographic mastery that depict coastlines and land masses that were supposedly unknown or ice-free millennia ago. The most famous of these is the Piri Reis map, compiled in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral. What makes this map so extraordinary is not its age, but its content. Alongside accurately depicted coastlines of Europe, Africa, and South America, it includes a southern landmass that bears a striking resemblance to Antarctica. Even more perplexing, this Antarctic coastline is shown without ice, as it would have appeared thousands of years ago, before the last ice age fully retreated and its massive ice sheet formed. Official history states that Antarctica was not discovered until the early 19th century, nearly 300 years after Piri Reis created his map. So how could a 16th century map include an ice-free outline of a continent not officially discovered for centuries? Piri Reis himself offered a clue, noting that his map was compiled from many older sources, some dating back to antiquity. If this is true, then the knowledge of Antarctica and other global coastlines may have originated from a civilization long predating the Greeks, Romans, or even the Sumerians. This implies a past era of global exploration and cartographic mastery, seafaring cultures capable of circumnavigating the globe and charting its landmasses with astonishing precision. The Piri Reis map is not an isolated case. The Oronteus Phineus map of 1531 similarly depicts an ice-free Antarctica, and the Boachi map of 1737 astonishingly illustrates rivers and mountain ranges beneath the continent's ice sheet, features only confirmed by modern science in the 20th century using advanced radar technology. These maps suggest that someone, long before our accepted timeline allows, possessed the means to survey and chart the Earth with a level of detail we still struggle to comprehend for that era. They are profound challenges to our understanding of ancient capabilities, silent whispers of forgotten navigators and cartographers. Then there are the megalithic sites, not merely impressive for their scale, but for the almost impossible precision of their construction. Among them, Pumapunku in Bolivia stands as a stark enigma, a site that defies conventional archaeological explanation. Located near the ancient city of Tiahuanaco, these ruins consist of massive blocks of stone, some weighing over 100 tons, cut with extraordinary accuracy. The most striking features are the intricate H-blocks, stones carved with multiple precise angles, notches, and perfectly flat surfaces that fit together like a sophisticated interlocking puzzle. The level of detail and uniformity in these cuts is so fine that it suggests the use of advanced tools, perhaps diamond-tipped drills or even laser-like precision, far beyond anything attributed to the people believed to have built Pumapunku around 1000 CE. Conventional explanations suggest the use of simple stone hammers and rudimentary chisels, yet the hardness of the rock, andesite and diorite, is so extreme that modern engineers struggle to replicate such cuts even with today's technology, let alone without metal tools or the wheel, which were supposedly unknown to the builders. The stones are also often found hundreds of miles from their quarry, raising additional questions about transportation. Pumapunku hints at an engineering prowess that utterly defies the limitations of its assigned historical period. It suggests a civilization with a command of geometry, stonemasonry, and perhaps even a lost understanding of advanced tools and methods, passed down or rediscovered from an earlier, more sophisticated age. It stands as a powerful monument to knowledge we struggle to reconcile with conventional timelines, a physical challenge to the narrative of gradual human progress. These scattered anomalies, the Antikythera mechanism, Göbekli Tepe, the Piri Reis map, Pumapunku, are not isolated mistakes or curiosities to be easily dismissed. They are profound challenges to our accepted historical narrative, serving as silent witnesses to a technological sophistication we struggle to reconcile with conventional timelines. They represent fragments, tiny pieces of a much larger, more complex puzzle that refuses to fit into the neat, linear story we have constructed for ourselves. Mainstream archaeology often attempts to explain them away, attributing them to accidental genius, or simply labeling them as unknown. But when such profound mysteries appear repeatedly, across different continents and vastly different time periods, a more radical possibility begins to emerge. These objects and structures hint at a past where advanced knowledge, engineering skills, and global understanding were not only possible but actively practiced. They are the fingerprints of forgotten eras, moments when humanity reached heights of intellectual and technological achievement that later generations lost. If we allow for the possibility of cyclical history, where civilizations rise, flourish, and then fall, often dramatically, then these unfitting fragments suddenly make sense. They are not anomalies. They are relics. They are the sparse, durable remnants that survived the erasure of time and catastrophe, hints of a story far richer and more intricate than our current history books describe. They remind us that the human journey may not be a single, unbroken line, but a repeating pattern of reawakening, each cycle leaving behind a few precious clues for those who follow. The precision, the foresight, the sheer impossible scale of these achievements compel us to look beyond our accepted timeline and consider what or who might have come before. They are the quiet, undeniable proof that the story of human civilization is far older and far more cyclical than we have been led to believe. The fragments of impossible knowledge we have uncovered, scattered across continents and deep beneath the waves, compel us to look differently at the past. But what if the story runs even deeper? Beyond the structures carved in stone and the tools shaped by ancient hands, what if the very crust of our planet holds subtle, almost imperceptible signatures of civilizations long gone, woven into its rock and sediment? The Earth, in its immense and restless patience, is a colossal archive. Its layers of rock, like the pages of an impossibly old book, record epochs of cataclysm and calm, of life flourishing and vanishing. Geologists have learned to read these pages, deciphering stories of shifting continents, ancient oceans, and climates transformed. Yet their conventional narratives rarely account for the kind of subtle imprint an advanced civilization might leave, not in monuments, but in the very chemistry of the planet. We explore here the quiet, profound possibility of geological fossils of advanced life. Imagine an anomalous layer of rare metals concentrated in a strata far older than any human mining activity we currently acknowledge. Modern industry, in its insatiable appetite for resources, leaves behind distinct geological markers, unusual concentrations of elements like copper, iron, or gold, scattered within waste heaps or diffused through ancient landfills. These are not always pristine veins, but telltale enrichments, patterns that define natural geological processes. Could earlier technological societies have left similar, deeply buried signatures waiting to be correctly identified? Consider also the subtle language of isotopes. Every element exists in multiple forms with slightly different atomic weights. The ratios of these isotopes in natural systems are predictable, a kind of planetary baseline. But advanced industrial processes, particularly those involving energy generation or complex chemistry, can dramatically alter these ratios. Large-scale combustion of fossil fuels, for example, produces carbon with a distinct isotopic signature. Nuclear reactions, whether intended or accidental, leave behind their own unmistakable isotopic fingerprints. If a prior civilization utilized such technologies, might thin, anomalous bands of unusual isotopic ratios exist within ancient geological layers, whispers of processes long forgotten by surface history? These would be infinitesimal details, yet profoundly significant to a discerning eye. Furthermore, specific carbon signatures could serve as ancient industrial residue. The burning of vast quantities of organic matter, whether for energy or other industrial purposes, injects particular forms of carbon into the atmosphere, which then settles and becomes incorporated into sediments. This carbon, distinct from that produced by natural forest fires or volcanic activity, could form a persistent, albeit faint, record. It would be a ghost of ancient smokestacks and energy grids, embedded in the very fabric of the earth itself, a quiet testament to a metabolism that once rivaled nature's own. But why have we not found more direct evidence? The answer lies in the immense, almost incomprehensible timescale of Earth's history. Our planet is not a static museum, but a dynamic, churning entity. Even the most robust structures, those built with a presumed permanence, would be no match for the relentless geological forces at play over millions, or even hundreds of millions of years. Erosion is a constant sculptor. Wind, water, and ice relentlessly grind down mountains, carve out canyons, and reduce vast landmasses to sediment. A city, no matter how grand, built on the surface of the earth, would be swiftly dismantled, its stones tumbled, its metals corroded, its every trace scattered and worn away. Imagine the Grand Canyon, a testament to water's patient, ceaseless work over eons. What human endeavor could possibly withstand such forces for an equivalent span of time? Then there is subduction. Our planet's outer shell is a mosaic of tectonic plates, constantly moving, colliding, and sliding beneath one another. When oceanic crust is subducted, it plunges back into the Earth's mantle, effectively recycling entire sections of the planet's surface. If a civilization flourished on an ancient continent that later fragmented or near a subduction zone, its physical presence would be utterly erased, pulled back into the fiery depths, leaving no discernible trace. Even continental crust, though less frequently subducted, is subject to immense pressure, folding, and metamorphism. transforming its original composition and structure beyond recognition. Vast sedimentary accumulations act as colossal erasers. Rivers carry countless tons of silt and sand to the oceans, building up thick layers over geological time. Volcanic eruptions, too, blanket vast areas with ash and lava, burying landscapes under meters of new material. Consider the layers of rock visible in any canyon wall, each stripe representing a world buried, compressed, and transformed by the weight of what came after. If a civilization existed beneath such accumulations, its physical remains would not only be buried beyond reach, but also likely crushed, melted, or chemically altered into indistinguishable rock. These relentless forces, tectonic processes, volcanic eruptions, and immense sedimentary accumulations work together as nature's ultimate shredder. They make the preservation of direct, recognizable evidence for deeply ancient, advanced societies incredibly rare, bordering on the miraculous. We search for grand cities and unmistakable tools, expecting them to survive as our ruins do today. But millions of years ago, even a skyscraper might be reduced to a faint chemical anomaly, a distorted mineral layer, or nothing at all by the inexorable march of geological time. The out-of-place artifacts we discussed earlier, remarkable as they are mere infants in the context of deep time. Only thousands of years old, not millions. These geological puzzles, when interpreted through a new and speculative lens, suggest that the perceived absence of evidence for prior technological cultures might not be an empty void. Instead, it could be a testament to Earth's profound, almost perfect ability to reclaim and obscure its own past. The silence we hear in the deep geological record, that vast stretch of time before what we call history, may not be a silence of nothingness. It may be the profound, echoing quiet of total erasure, where civilizations, perhaps as complex as our own, rose and fell, leaving only the most subtle, and currently misinterpreted, whispers within the planet's enduring, churning depths. To truly listen to these whispers, we must learn to read the Earth not just as a record of natural processes, but as a silent repository of all that has ever been, including, perhaps, the forgotten chapters of humanity itself. The Earth's profound capacity to erase and obscure its own past, as witnessed in the geological record, casts a new light on humanity's journey. Our story, as we commonly understand it, is one of steady ascent, a long, slow climb from crude tools to complex societies, from scattered camps to towering cities. But when we look closer, the archaeological record often tells a different tale. It speaks not of a gentle, continuous progression, but of sudden, dramatic leaps punctuated by stretches of an almost unnerving silence. These aren't steady steps. They are powerful, enigmatic surges, as if humanity periodically presses a hidden reset button, only to reawaken with renewed vigor. Consider the unsettling timeline of human progress. For hundreds of thousands of years, anatomically modern humans existed, yet the material evidence for their lives remains largely unchanged. Simple stone flakes and basic hand axes, showing little innovation for immense stretches of time. Then around 40,000 years ago, something profound shifts across the world. A creative explosion erupts, igniting a dramatic surge in symbolic thought and artistic expression. Suddenly, sophisticated cave art adorns the walls of Chauvet and Lascaux, depicting animals with breathtaking realism and dynamic movement, far removed from earlier rudimentary markings. Intricate carvings of animals and human figures, like the Venus figurines or the Lion Man of Hohenstein's Stadel, emerge from mammoth ivory and stone in Central Europe, demonstrating a level of craftsmanship and abstract thought previously unseen. Musical instruments like the bone flute are crafted with precision, suggesting communal rituals and complex communication. Advanced hunting tools designed for efficiency and specialized tasks, such as spear throwers and barbed points, spread rapidly across continents, indicating sophisticated planning and adaptation. This sudden flowering of ingenuity challenges the notion of a purely linear evolution of consciousness and skill. Why then, after such immense stretches of relative stasis, did humanity suddenly begin to paint, sculpt, and innovate with such fervent creativity? This pattern of abrupt innovation, following periods of quietude, repeats itself throughout our perceived history. After the last ice age, around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, another colossal shift occurs, the dawn of agriculture. This wasn't an isolated event in one corner of the globe. It unfolded across multiple continents simultaneously. Communities in the Fertile Crescent began cultivating wheat and barley. In China, rice and millet became staple crops. In Mesoamerica, maize was domesticated, and in the Andes, potatoes. Different crops, different animals, but the same fundamental shift from a nomadic hunter-gatherer existence to settled farming. This convergence across vast geographical distances without apparent direct communication seems almost miraculous if seen as a series of independent inventions from a blank slate. The speed and parallel nature of this agricultural revolution suggest a global readiness, perhaps a collective rediscovery rather than a spontaneous genesis. If we view these seemingly abrupt firsts not as original inventions, but as restarts, the narrative changes profoundly. The sudden emergence of complex art, or the parallel development of agriculture, becomes less about spontaneous genesis and more about a painstaking process of rediscovery and re-establishment. Humanity, recovering from a profound global upheaval, might have slowly, painstakingly reacquired lost skills, perhaps fragments of older knowledge carried in the collective memory of small, scattered survivor groups, or encoded in almost forgotten symbols and oral traditions, served as powerful catalysts. Imagine the remnants of a prior civilization, shattered by a cataclysm. Small groups of survivors would scatter, stripped of their societal structures, their advanced tools, and their specialized knowledge. For generations, they would focus solely on raw survival, their lives reduced to the most basic needs. Yet the inherent human capacity for innovation, the deep-seated drive to create and understand, would not be entirely extinguished. Over time, as environmental conditions stabilize, as populations gradually grow and as resources become more abundant, the latent seeds of old knowledge could begin to sprout anew, guided by faint echoes of the past. This perspective gains significant strength when we consider the concept of genetic bottlenecks, periods of extreme population reduction that dramatically reshape a species. One of the most stark and significant examples lies in the super-eruption of the Toba volcano in Indonesia, approximately 74,000 years ago. This cataclysmic event was of unparalleled scale, ejecting an estimated 2,800 cubic kilometers of ash into the atmosphere, plunging the Earth into a volcanic winter that may have lasted for years, even decades. Global temperatures plummeted, and the planet experienced widespread ecological devastation. Genetic studies strongly suggest that the human population may have been reduced to a mere few thousand individuals worldwide during this harrowing period, bringing our species perilously close to extinction. Such an event would have acted as an almost absolute, devastating reset for any existing human cultures or proto-civilizations. Imagine the scale of knowledge loss, complex skills, intricate social structures, specialized craftsmanship, early forms of writing or navigation. All would have been utterly shattered. The fragile threads of accumulated wisdom, passed down through generations, would snap under the immense pressure of survival. Only the most fundamental skills in hunting, gathering, finding shelter, making basic tools would be retained by the scattered, vulnerable survivors. When humanity eventually recovered from this severe bottleneck, slowly growing from those few struggling groups, it would have been a profoundly different species in a profoundly altered world. The creative explosion that followed tens of thousands of years later might not have been a sudden genetic mutation or an entirely fresh start. but rather the slow, painful reawakening of ingenuity and knowledge, building upon the faint, almost forgotten remnants of what was nearly entirely lost. This narrative of restarts helps reconcile the uneven pattern of progress we observe in the archaeological record. The long silences between bursts of innovation begin to make sense as arduous periods of recovery and slow, incremental rebuilding. It takes immense time for complex skills like metalworking, advanced navigation, or large-scale planned architecture to re-emerge without the robust, supporting infrastructure of a fully developed society. A single lifetime is rarely enough to master and pass on such intricate knowledge effectively to a new generation starting from near scratch. It might take many generations, perhaps even millennia, for survivor groups to reach a critical mass, for stable environments to return, and for the collective memory to coalesce enough to drive significant cultural advancements once more. And yet humanity endured. This reframing of our history highlights a profound, almost defiant resilience woven into the very fabric of our species. We are not merely a product of linear progress, but a testament to an enduring spirit capable of rising again and again from the ashes of catastrophe. We rebuild, we reinvent, we rediscover. The very act of beginning anew, of taking those first hesitant steps towards art, agriculture, or complex social organization might carry an echo of past wisdom. The human mind, perhaps, holds a deep, unconscious memory of cycles, a wisdom that understands that decline is often followed by ascent. That destruction holds the inherent seeds of renewal. These reawakenings are not mere theories. They are suggested by the very fabric of our past. The sudden flowering of artistic expression and advanced tool-making in the Upper Paleolithic, long after modern humans emerged, points to a resurgence, a collective turning towards creation after a period of immense challenge. Likewise, the global near-simultaneous adoption of agriculture after the last ice age suggests a species primed to embrace a new way of life, perhaps drawing on ancient, latent knowledge of cultivation that had been dormant through the colder, more volatile millennia. The apparent revolution in our ancestors' abilities might in fact be a return, an unlocking of inherent capacities informed by previous cycles. The resilience demonstrated by humanity throughout these bottlenecks and explosions is staggering. It speaks to an inherent adaptive capacity, a drive to not only survive but to thrive, to organize and to build. When the world is wiped clean, metaphorically or literally, humanity, or at least fragments of it, finds a way to endure. The survivors, perhaps remembering stories of older, greater times, are compelled to recreate what was lost, even if their understanding of it is partial or mythologized. This process of rebuilding, often mistaken for a pristine beginning, is in fact a testament to an ancient cycle of ascent and fall, a continuous echo of rediscovery. The very concept of a golden age found in so many myths worldwide, distinct from the immediate historical past, might be another echo of these reawakenings. These tales describe periods of peace, abundance, and advanced knowledge, often followed by a dramatic decline or destruction. For cultures recovering from a reset, the powerful memory of a sophisticated previous era would serve as a compelling narrative, shaping their aspirations and fueling their drive to rebuild. They wouldn't be inventing progress from scratch. They would be striving to reclaim a perceived inheritance, a lost legacy, guided by a deep, almost instinctual connection to what once was. Such a perspective reconfigures our understanding of time itself, not as a straight arrow, but as a helix constantly spiraling upwards, yet always passing through familiar points of challenge and renewal. Each peak of civilization, each era of advanced knowledge might leave subtle, almost imperceptible traces that inform the next ascent, even after a profound global reset. These are not merely historical events. They are the rhythmic breathing of human existence on a planetary scale, cycles of forgetting and remembering, of loss and profound reawakenings. Thus, When we observe the creative explosions or the agricultural revolutions in the archaeological record, we may not be witnessing humanity's first hesitant steps into civilization, but rather its determined strides back toward a level of complexity achieved countless times before. These moments are not isolated miracles. They are the pulse points of a deeply resilient species, rising again from the silent depths of forgetfulness, driven by an inherent wisdom that remembers the cycles of ascent and fall, of creation and destruction. Humanity's story is not a singular narrative, but a profound ancient saga of continuous reawakening, each one a testament to an indomitable spirit. This profound resilience, the capacity to rebuild and reinvent across vast stretches of time, defines our species in a way that goes beyond mere biological survival. It is a cultural, intellectual, and spiritual endurance that has allowed knowledge, even if fragmented, to persist through the most severe cataclysms. The journey from a few thousand individuals after the Toba eruption to the global civilization of today is not just a triumph of numbers. It is a testament to the persistent flame of human ingenuity, repeatedly rekindled. The archaeological record, with its puzzling gaps and sudden surges, becomes a testament to this cyclical process. The periods of quietude, once interpreted as primitive stagnation, could instead be read as the long, arduous process of recovery, the slow gathering of resources, the painful re-establishment of social cohesion, the gradual rediscovery of lost arts and sciences, and the explosions of creativity. They are the culmination of that recovery, the moment when enough stability, population, and inherited memory align to allow humanity to once again flourish and push the boundaries of what is possible. This understanding also reshapes our relationship with the past. We are not simply the latest iteration in a linear progression, but perhaps the current caretakers of a legacy that has been rebuilt and refined across countless cycles. The scientific discoveries that hint at prior civilizations, the submerged cities, the anomalous artifacts, the geological whispers we have explored, find their complementary narrative in the cyclical patterns of human development itself. They are two sides of the same ancient coin, the evidence of erasure and the evidence of reawakenings. The story of humanity, then, is not just about what we have achieved, but how many times we have picked ourselves up, pieced together fragments of what was lost, and dared to begin anew. It is a story of enduring wisdom, perhaps encoded deep within our very being, a memory of cycles that reminds us that while individual civilizations may fall, the spirit of human endeavor, the drive to create and understand, is an eternal flame, destined to be rekindled again and again in the great reawakenings that define our cyclical ascent. We have seen how the earth itself carries the scars of immense shifts, and how the archaeological record hints at a rhythm of rediscovery rather than a simple ascent. But what if the deepest, most enduring record of past cycles is not in stone or submerged ruins, but within the very stories humanity tells itself? What if the pervasive myths of great floods, fiery destructions, and golden ages found across disparate cultures are not mere fables born of imagination, but fragmented echoes of real, cataclysmic events witnessed by our remote ancestors? For generations, these ancient narratives have been dismissed as symbolic, as primitive attempts to explain the unknown, or as moral lessons veiled in allegory. Yet when we examine them through the lens of forgotten ages, a different truth begins to emerge. Their consistency, their shared themes of annihilation and rebirth, suggest something far more profound. They whisper of a time when the world truly did end, not once, but many times, and humanity survived only to encode these terrifying memories into the bedrock of its culture. The most universal and compelling of these narratives is the Great Flood. Almost every major civilization, separated by vast oceans and millennia, tells a version of a world-ending deluge that wiped away nearly all life. In the Western world, the story of Noah's Ark, stands as a testament to this profound human memory. A divinely warned man, a colossal vessel, and a world submerged beneath a relentless tide, only to emerge anew. But this story, so deeply ingrained in our consciousness, is merely one thread in a global tapestry of water-borne destruction. Long before the biblical account, the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh recounted the tale of Utnapishtim, instructed by the god Enki to build an ark and save the seeds of life from a great flood. The similarities are striking: a divine warning, a massive boat, the destruction of humanity, and a new beginning. These are not isolated coincidences. In the ancient texts of India, the Matsya Purana describes Manu, forewarned by a fish avatar of Vishnu, to construct a ship to brave the coming inundation. In the myths of ancient Greece, Deucalion and Pyrrha are the sole survivors of a colossal flood, repopulating the earth from stones across the Americas. The oral traditions of indigenous peoples are replete with similar accounts. The Maya, the Aztec, the Inca, the Sioux, the Ojibwe all have stories of a great water that covered the earth, leaving only a few survivors to rebuild. Some accounts speak of mountains becoming islands, of the skies opening for days, of all creatures perishing save those taken into a vessel or hidden in caves. In distant Polynesia, islands seemingly isolated from the rest of the world carry legends of vast floods that reshaped their lands, stories passed down over thousands of years of seafaring. These universal narratives describe world-ending floods that cleanse the earth, allowing a new beginning. They are too numerous, too similar in their core elements, and too geographically dispersed to be mere independent inventions. Instead, they suggest a shared, cataclysmic experience that resonated so deeply within the human psyche that it became an indelible part of our collective memory. But the memory of planetary upheaval extends beyond water. Beyond water, tales of fire from the sky, cosmic catastrophes, or ages ending in darkness and rebirth resonate deeply, suggesting a shared human experience of immense planetary upheaval. Many traditions describe a fiery destruction, a scorching of the earth that precedes a new era. In some Native American cosmologies, the world has ended not just once by flood, but also by fire and by ice, demonstrating a broader understanding of cyclical destruction. The Norse saga of Ragnarok foretells a cosmic winter, a great battle, and a world consumed by flames, only to re-emerge fertile and green, populated by a new generation of gods and humans. This is not simply a battle of deities. It is the memory of a planetary reset, seen through the lens of a warrior culture. The Hindu concept of yugas, vast cycles of time spanning hundreds of thousands of years, provides another powerful example. Each yuga culminates in a period of intense destruction, a dissolution, pralaya, which can manifest as cataclysmic floods, all-consuming fires, or a complete collapse of universal order, followed by a new creation and a new golden age. These are not just linear events. They are phases within an endless cosmic breath, a rhythmic expansion and contraction that mirrors the very cycles we observe in the geological record. They speak of ages ending in darkness and rebirth, a profound recognition that existence itself is cyclical. These myths are not static. They evolve, they adapt to local landscapes and cultural nuances, yet their fundamental structure remains uncannily consistent. The world becomes unlivable, life is nearly wiped away, and then something new starts. It is as though people across the world remembered the same event, or a series of similar events, but described them in their own words, through the filter of their own spiritual and social frameworks. When ancient cultures described the sun disappearing from the sky, or the stars shifting in their courses, or mountains being violently reshaped, they are echoing the very geological and astronomical events that science has begun to uncover. These are not isolated coincidences, but profound narrative symmetries passed down through countless generations. How could these stories be so uniform if they were not rooted in a common, terrifying truth? The simplest explanation is that these myths represent a form of cultural data, preserving memories of global resets and the loss of advanced societies. When physical evidence, like the submerged cities or anomalous artifacts we explored earlier, might be buried or eroded over eons, stories can endure. They are carried in the minds of survivors, whispered from elder to child, sung in ceremonies, and carved into sacred texts. This oral and ritual transmission ensures that even when the material culture of a previous age vanishes, its essential narrative, its core warning of cyclical destruction, can persist. Consider the immense resilience of memory itself. A traumatic event experienced by an entire population imprints itself not just on individuals, but on the collective psyche. Imagine being a survivor of a truly global catastrophe, witnessing your civilization crumble, the landscape transformed beyond recognition. That experience would be so monumental, so deeply unsettling, that it would become the defining event for generations. It would be woven into every aspect of life, shaping religious beliefs, social customs, and, crucially, stories. These stories would become warnings, cautionary tales, and prophecies, ensuring that the memory of the reset and the knowledge of rebuilding was never entirely lost. The human spirit, it seems, retains a deep memory of cycles. It comprehends at a fundamental level that what is built can be unbuilt, that stability is often temporary, and that life, while resilient, is also fragile. This understanding is reflected in the cyclical nature of many ancient philosophies, which do not see history as a linear progression towards an inevitable end point, but as a recurring drama of creation, preservation, and dissolution. These belief systems, often seen as primitive, may in fact be far more accurate reflections of Earth's true history than our modern, linear perspectives. Such a collective memory acts as a living archive of civilizations that once flourished before us. It suggests that even without written records, even without enduring stone monuments, a profound truth can be preserved in the intangible realm of storytelling. The myths are not just fantastical tales, they are encrypted messages from the deep past, echoes of forgotten worlds speaking to us across the chasm of time. They confirm that the dramatic shifts we see in the geological record, the sudden disappearances in the archaeological timeline, and the unexplained leaps in human progress may all be linked to these recurrent cataclysms that fundamentally reset the human story. This perspective transforms our understanding of myth. No longer are these narratives mere curiosities, but vital clues. They are the human equivalent of geological layers, each story a stratum of cultural memory, preserving the faint outlines of a world long gone. They tell us that humanity has seen its grandest creations swept away, its knowledge drowned, its world scorched. And each time a remnant survived to remember, to rebuild, and to tell the story of the end and the beginning. Again, the profound consistency of these myths across disconnected peoples and continents cannot be ignored. It points not to a shared imagination, but to a shared history of cataclysm and renewal. These are not isolated fictions. They are the collective voice of humanity remembering its long and cyclical journey, a testament to the fact that while physical traces may vanish, the human spirit retains a deep memory of cycles, acting as a living archive of civilizations that once flourished before us. They invite us to listen to the whispers of our ancestors, not as quaint tales, but as vital testaments to a past far more complex and dramatic than we have ever dared to imagine. Throughout this journey, we have sifted through the evidence from the silent depths where cities now rest, to the enigmatic fragments unearthed from ancient strata, through the Earth's own geological memory, and within the persistent echoes of myth shared across continents. Each clue, once a perplexing anomaly, now joins a larger tapestry, The submerged structures that defy our accepted timelines, the artifacts crafted with knowledge far exceeding their supposed era, the subtle scars etched into the Earth's ancient layers, and the universal narratives of world-ending floods or fires all converge. They paint a compelling, almost undeniable picture that our civilization is not a singular, unprecedented ascent, but rather one chapter in a much grander, more ancient story. What was once dismissed as the wild speculation of outliers, isolated curiosities in the grand halls of academia, now coalesces into a coherent, powerful narrative. It is a story that defies the comfortable linearity we have long embraced, replacing it with a profound, ancient rhythm. Humanity's journey, we find, is not a simple, unbroken progression from a single origin point, a steady climb from primitive beginnings to our current complex societies. Instead, it is a cyclical dance of rise, fall, and re-emergence, echoing across vast spans of time. This new understanding shifts our entire perception of history, moving us from a straight line stretching into a single future to a repeating pattern. A spiraling journey where beginnings are often rediscoveries and endings are but preludes to new awakenings. It forces us to confront the idea that the very concepts of first and last may be illusions, born from the limits of our current archaeological reach and the fragility of evidence across deep time. This unfolding realization is not intended to diminish the marvels we have constructed, nor to lessen the ingenuity and spirit that defines our age. Far from it. This perspective imbues our present achievements with a far deeper, more resonant context. We are not an isolated triumph, a solitary flicker of consciousness in a universe of silence, but a vital, vibrant chapter in a book written across stretches of deep time so immense they defy easy comprehension. Every skyscraper that pierces the sky, every scientific breakthrough that unravels a cosmic secret, every piece of art that stirs the soul becomes a verse in a story far grander than any single epoch could tell. It positions us not as the pinnacle of a singular ascending arc, but as a current expression of an enduring human capacity for innovation, resilience, and rebirth. We are connected through the subtle threads of memory and the deep currents of planetary cycles to those who came before us, and perhaps to those who will come after. Our efforts build upon foundations we may not consciously remember, yet their echoes resonate in our collective spirit of inquiry and creation. It is a humbling thought, yet also an empowering one, for it places us within a continuous, magnificent narrative of existence. The Earth, too, we discover, is not a static stage for human drama. It is a living, breathing entity, moving in its own grand, inexorable cycles of destruction and renewal. The geological record speaks of these rhythms, of ages of ice giving way to periods of warmth, of fiery eruptions that reshape continents, and of cosmic impacts that reset the very conditions for life. Within these vast, powerful rhythms of ice advancing, seas rising, and fire falling from the sky, countless iterations of human complexity may have flourished. Societies as rich and varied as our own, perhaps even more so, may have risen and thrived, developed their own sciences, their own art, their own understanding of the cosmos. Yet, in the wake of each planetary upheaval, they dissolved, their cities crumbling, their knowledge scattered, leaving behind only the faintest whispers for us to decipher. Fragments for us to assemble like echoes in a cavern. These are not mere theories. They are the logical conclusion drawn from the accumulated weight of evidence. The planet itself, in its vast, slow dance of change, has consistently wiped clean its surface, erasing the works of its inhabitants, preparing the ground for the next act. Our collective human endeavor, our insatiable pursuit of knowledge, is thus transformed. It is no longer solely about charting new territories, pushing the boundaries of what is known, or ascending to unprecedented heights of achievement. It becomes, crucially, about rediscovering the forgotten. It is about piecing together the shattered memories of previous ages, understanding that the deepest, most profound truth about our past resides not in a singular, definitive beginning, but in an enduring, powerful cycle. The task before us is to learn not only what we can create, but also what we have forgotten, to understand the patterns of resilience and loss that have shaped humanity over eons. This understanding places us not as the sole authors of history, but as active participants in a cosmic dance, an endless becoming that stretches across eternity. Our scientific instruments, our archaeological digs, our studies of ancient texts and geological strata all become tools for this grand rediscovery, helping us to hear the faint melodies of forgotten civilizations, to see the subtle imprints of their passing, and to recognize our place within this vast, repeating symphony of life. It is a journey not just into the past, but into the very nature of existence itself, revealing a universe of endless cycles and profound, enduring mystery. This perspective invites us to look at the world with new eyes, to question the silences in our history books, and to seek the whispers of what came before in unexpected places. The anomalies are no longer problems to be explained away, but signposts pointing to a deeper truth. The myths are not mere fables, but echoes of collective memory, distorted by time yet resonant with real experiences. The geological shifts are not just natural phenomena, but the grand stage upon which countless human dramas have unfolded and dissolved. Our modern scientific tools, from deep-sea submersibles to advanced geological scanners, are slowly peeling back the layers, revealing remnants that defy conventional timelines. These discoveries are not here to undermine our present, but to enrich it, providing a canvas of deep time against which our current endeavors can be understood. We are called to transcend the limitations of a linear mindset, to embrace the fluidity of time and to recognize that existence is a continuous flow, a river that carves new paths but always carries the sediment of what came before. To embrace this cyclical view is to adopt a profound humility. We see that our planet is a dynamic, often volatile entity capable of immense transformations. We recognize that the conditions that allowed our civilization to flourish are not static, and that the forces of destruction and renewal are ever present. This awareness does not lead to despair, but to a deeper appreciation for the preciousness of our present moment and the remarkable resilience of the human spirit. It is a call to wisdom, urging us to learn from the silent testimony of forgotten ages, to understand the rhythms of destruction and rebirth, and to build with an awareness of the impermanence that defines all things. The knowledge that we are not the first instills a sense of continuity, a shared heritage with countless iterations of humanity that have experienced their own triumphs and tribulations. We stand on their shoulders, often unknowingly, inheriting a legacy of adaptation, innovation, and an unyielding will to survive. Our place in this grand, recurring narrative becomes clearer. We are the current guardians of a flame that has been rekindled many times. The pursuit of knowledge, then, is not merely about accumulating facts, but about weaving together the fragmented story of our past, present, and future. It is a spiritual quest as much as a scientific one, seeking to understand the enduring patterns of life and consciousness within the vast, indifferent cycles of the cosmos. Every discovery that hints at a previous civilization, every piece of evidence that challenges our linear assumptions, is a step towards completing a picture far more complex and beautiful than we initially conceived. It reminds us that there is always more to learn, always more to uncover, always deeper layers to explore. The true beginning of humanity, we realize, may not be a point in time, but a perpetual process, an enduring dance of becoming that echoes throughout the vastness of time and space. We are part of this cosmic ballet, a testament to the endless capacity for life to rise, adapt, and build anew, forever moving forward within a boundless, ancient rhythm.